You're watching another Nerd Stalker interview. All right, we're live. Well, welcome to another Nerd Stalker interview. Good morning. This is Greg Glory, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Today we're talking about tech that helps your family, namely a device for healthier and safer families called CloudPhone 3G. So I'm pleased to talk with Hugh Geiger, CEO and co-founder of Ollo Mobile. With the CloudPhone 3G, you can monitor a loved one's physical activity as well as location, and then use simple voice commands to kind of call your family and or a trusted number, I guess you would call it. So, a little bit about Hugh. I actually met him at SF New Tech last week, and he was one of our favorites on the post show. So I wanted to get him on the show here with me on Nerd Stalker. He's been an entrepreneur and analyst for over 10 years in Australia, and that's where he comes from. And he's here really, and he'll tell you why he's here. He's here to do a couple things, obviously, in the SF Tech Silicon Valley area. So good morning, Hugh, and how you doing? And thanks for joining us on Nerd Stalker Live here on Google Plus Hangouts.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Appreciate you having me on. And yeah, sorry about the accent. I'll try and talk slowly and round out my letters a little bit more for your listeners.
Wow, that's very true. We love your accents here, but sometimes, it's almost like listening to someone talking Japanese to me. No, I understand probably Japanese more than you, maybe. But anyway,
Yeah.
so well, let's talk about this new product that you're trying to launch and how you're pitching Ollo Mobile and the CloudPhone 3G. Can you tell the listeners what this device is and what motivated you to create it?
Yeah, sure. Look, actually got started in this space 2 years ago after my aunt slipped and fell in the shower. She broke her hip and she had to crawl to a telephone. So it took her a couple of hours actually. Something I didn't know is that you break your hip, you don't move very quickly, and it's really quite a painful and traumatic process. So before that, I was like many people. I didn't really have any visibility of the sort of the elderly care space. It was not something that I was aware of. So when we went through this process, it was emotionally very difficult for her and for the family. And I thought there's got to be a better communication tool. So I went shopping on the internet, as you do when you want to fix a problem, and really found that there wasn't a solution that suited her needs, that gave her the capacity to communicate, the capacity to be mobile, and also a way for us as a family to I guess understand her health and understand where she is in terms of her physical activity and wellness, particularly during her rehabilitation process, where that was quite important. So that was how we got into it. The device itself, what we've created, is a little prototype here, which I can sort of show you. So
That's cool.
It's a little bit smaller than a credit card. It's about a quarter of the size of a conventional smartphone. And it's a pendant-based device, so it's worn around the neck, and the reason we keep it on the core is that if you do fall over, you can break an arm and be unable to activate a device on your wrist. So we want to keep it near the core so that it's more accessible. The device itself, it's a wearable voice-controlled cellular phone. So for your grandmother or your mother, you just press the button. She just presses the button. And then she says who she wants to talk to, and we connect her through our cloud platform. And that's one of the other things that we're doing differently, is that it's not like a regular phone. It doesn't just call you. It doesn't just call a member of your family. It actually comes to us first, and we make that connection. And the reason we do that is we want to make sure that every call that comes from that device comes through to a human. So we don't want to ever have a missed call on our device for any reason. So because we never know whether it's a social call or whether she really does need help.
So this is actually human screened service then, huh?
No, we've got software doing that. So the software does the screening. Yeah. So we're a startup. We can't afford to have a massive
Siri. It's the Siri voice that comes on.
It is. Yeah. It's Siri voice with just a sort of a little control layer there to make sure that that you're human. So our system will prompt you to prove that you're human before we hand the call over. And if we're not sure that you are human, we'll at the same time we'll be calling another member of your family, and whoever's there will be able to drop in. So multiple family members can actually drop in on the call at the same time if everybody answers at the same time. So it's one of the things we do a little bit differently. So we've designed it with I guess seniors in particular in mind. It's a very robust tool for them to communicate with the family. And then we looked at falls, obviously, is something that we're passionate about getting right. Is what can we do to make that person safer in the event that if they do fall, often they can hit their head and become unconscious or disoriented. So we've developed a fairly unique method of fall detection in that our device will actually ask the wearer if they're okay. And what that means is it means that over time we can build up a sort of kind of like Google in the way that Google does organic search. We've got an organic way of collecting fall information about different people and understanding what is a serious fall and what is not serious, and what does it mean for individuals. So if you're a huge 6-foot guy who weighs I don't know, a couple hundred pounds, and you experience a fall, how you fall is going to be different than if you're a 5 foot nothing 85-year-old lady. If she has a fall, how that looks to a sensor is going to be very, very different. And what's a really serious fall for her is perhaps not a big deal for the big brawny guy. So we want to understand how that works on an individual basis. And we're pretty excited with the stuff that we're doing in that space.
No, absolutely. I think we monitor a lot on Nerd Soccer here, wearable tech as well as biohacking, and they kind of merge together when you think about health and devices. But to try to actually create, use a mobile phone sometimes and modify what's on an iPhone, it may not have all the devices there. It's great that you're actually thinking about, okay, if someone falls, there should be a sensor that really has a kind of some kind of detection. I mean, a lot of devices have that type of thing in different forms, but
yep.
I've never seen them on a cell phone before. So.
Yeah, and look, I guess the thing that the other thing for us is that it needs to be in a small waterproof package. It's with I think even the new iPhones are now coming out with pretty cool motion tracking stuff on them.
Yeah.
But it's not something that your grandmother is going to take in the shower with her. It's not something that's going to be on her all the time. If she puts it on a coffee table and walks over to the fridge, then that system has actually been defeated at that point. So it needs to be really with her all the time, because even reaching up onto a table or a bench top after a fall can be virtually impossible. So it needs to be with that person 24/7, because you just can't plan for these kinds of things.
No, it makes sense, because when you were talking about the sensing, I was even thinking about the Wii. Some of the accelerometers that are out there that'll detect motion and strength of fall and stuff like that. But I'm sure there's other sensors which they have out for years now that actually could detect even the minutest of things. So I mean it's a great platform to launch from, if I think about it. You could really do a lot of even medical monitoring in the future with your device, possibly. So.
Yeah, well, we've actually brought a guy named Professor Stuart Smith on board as an advisor. He's one of the world's leading falls researchers, and he heard about what we were doing through our Indie campaign, and he's actually going to help us build out these fall models. So he was actually doing research for NASA on falls. One interesting random factoid that I didn't know is that astronauts, when they spend some time up in space, they get muscle and bone wastage. But when they return to Earth, they actually experience falls in a very similar way to elderly people. So it's actually a major health risk for them too, while they go back through that rehabilitation process, adjusting to gravity once again. So yeah, so that's a random thought, but yeah.
So. Well, that's actually, it's a good lead-in. Actually, I wanted to ask you. What about this IndieGoGo campaign that you've created? You mentioned this at last week's SF New Tech, and I wanted to take this opportunity during this interview to kind of dig into the IndieGoGo campaign in general, and some of your goals and what you're trying to accomplish with it.
Yeah, well, look, I guess the main thing for us with this campaign has been to get feedback on our model from a really broad audience. Because we are doing some different things in aged care. We're kind of with the lifestyle analytics stuff, so the activity monitoring that we do. We are sort of, I guess, playing with sensitive issues around privacy and who has a right to what information, and should that information be collected, and what's the benefit of doing it. So we really wanted to sort of socialize those kinds of issues and see what the market said. We know what our friends say. We know what people in the aged care industry say to us. or in the senior care industry. But we thought, what happens when we throw it out there, and how are people going to react to it? And we thought that as a startup, this is a great way to attract that attention and to get that dialogue started. And also to start building a community around what we're doing. So this is kind of our way of going loud, if you like, and trying to get everybody involved in what we do, because that's where we need to be.
Right, right. No, that makes sense. So let's shift to your, I was kind of surprised when I listened to your talk at SMU Tech, and you said the IndieGoGo campaign really, you could pre-order the device, but it really is for, like you said, reach and feedback, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah. So one of the challenges we've got with our tech is that we need to go through a fairly expensive commercialization process before we can deploy them in the community. We can't really put out half-baked. It's not like a wireless speaker or something that you buy off Kickstarter and you get it home and it doesn't really work. You're like, well, I kind of knew what I was getting into, right? So we can't really go that route where we send out partially functional or stuff that's not quite baked yet. So it does add risk to our development. That as an engineering team, you want to make sure that you're building what the customer wants. And because we've had limited direct customer interaction, we thought this is a good way to lower our risk, to get people talking about it and perhaps thinking about the problems that they might have with our system before we've invested all of that money in the final build. So that was a big part of it. The other thing is to meet people like yourself here in San Francisco and in the professional community. And having that crowdfunding campaign actually creates a really nice focal point for, it's kind of newsy, it's kind of interesting, and it creates a sense of, a sense of urgency. So it brings people in and gets that conversation happening. So that's been really great. Our commercialization path is relatively expensive, so we didn't expect to be able to raise the funds needed through crowdfunding to do it the way we want to do it. But we thought that this is a great way to I guess kick that process off.
With most monitoring models, at least I've seen here in the U.S., especially for the elderly, it's been a subscription model. Is that how you guys look at trying to monetize this product?
Yeah, absolutely. In a mature state, we want to get to a point where we give the device away, and the family just pays a monitoring fee. It is a cell phone, so we do have to pay for network access, and we have cloud infrastructure to support. So yeah, the subscription model absolutely works for us.
No, that's great. I think so. I think you talked a little bit. We've kind of gone around a little bit with kind of your future and next steps. But maybe you could talk a little bit about the audience. What are your immediate steps, like what you're doing here in SF Tech and Silicon Valley, and where do you see the launch point, and then where do you see beyond that?
Yeah, so we're planning to have this product on shelves by July 31 next year. We're right now in the process of trying to move over here, actually. So we're meeting as many people as we can, talking to as many people as we can here, because San Francisco is just such a fantastic place to do technology. And our vision for this system is to be a global care platform. So we are whilst we are Australian based, we are looking to serve a global market. We feel that it's not well served here in the US or in the UK, or even in large parts of Southeast Asia, such as Japan and Indonesia. So we want to be a global platform, and to get access to the companies that can help us to be that. Many of them are, they have their startup engagement offices here. So this is the way to get access to those people.
Wow, this is cool. Now I'm glad we kind of talked about this in this interview, because I think I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to kind of understand what you're doing and understand Ollo Mobile and their business model. So this is good. So let's close off the interview, unless you want to talk about more things. How can listeners get a hold of you and get information on Ollo Mobile and join the IndieGoGo campaign?
Yeah, well, it'll be great if you can engage with us over IndieGoGo. So if you just jump onto Indie and do a search for Cloud Phone, so Cloud Phone, sorry about the accent,
That's
You
cloud
should.
phone, everyone. Cloud
Yeah,
phone.
thanks, Greg. That's an excellent translation. Uh, you can grab us there. I'm also we're also on Facebook under Ollo Mobile, OLLO Mobile, and Twitter, of course. And our website is www.ollomobile.net. So you should find us on there as well. But if you've got comments, feedback, anything like that, please reach out to myself or any member of our team. We'd love to talk to you. This is a really great part of where we are right now. Is we're really, really loving the feedback. So yeah, reach out.
No, thank you. I appreciate you being on with us here, Hugh, and spending some time with us.
Thanks very much, Greg. Really, really great to be here.
Okay, well, that was Hugh Geiger, CEO and co-founder of Ollo Mobile, a company trying to help families be safe and connected, and especially in this market of growing elderly that we see. You know, the baby boomers are getting older, and so I think they have a great start at a product that could help those aging baby boomers here in the world as well as here in the U.S. So thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Flory, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, we'll shut that down. This is kind